So when I'm exploring the creative process, it's not set in stone. And one of the things we do in drama is quite a bit of improvisation. They can appreciate that if they work cooperatively with you, it's rich and everyone has a better time. And they have those aha moments too when they go, this was fantastic. What happens next, Mr. Wassel?
Well, good morning, boys and girls. What we're going to do today is we're going to explore a piece of poetry. But to start off with a sort of a minds-on activity, we're going to play a game. And I think one that we've played before. This is one called Fox and Hare.
Well, the first exercise is what often we call a minds-on. It's to engage the students in what's coming up. So I wanted to give them the idea of taking something that they might know, a game, and then getting them comfortable with it.
All right, we're going to add a wrinkle to this. And what I'm going to ask you to do is you're not going to let all the hairs into your hole. So you're going to decide some criteria. I noticed when you played the game that we were sort of breaking up on gender lines. The girls were sort of sticking very much in this, but the boys were sitting there going, we're excluded from this game. And the word exclusion is one that will come up today quite a bit. And I want you to work out with your partner here what your rules of exclusion might be. If you're with another boy, you might say that we won't let any girls into our group. Or it might be no blondes today.
We could do people wearing green shirts can't come on. Yeah, that's like a lot of people.
All right, stand up when you've got your rule. Everyone knows what exclusion is? All right, go.
No, you can't come in.
Keep going.
And then changing the rules. So there's a discomfort level and, getting that confusion going on. And then very much the follow-up, the discussion was very important before we went into the actual poem.
Let's hear from you what some of your criteria were for exclusion.
No one with jeans.
No one with pants.
No one that has blue on.
Let's slip on to the other side there. What was it like now playing that game when you were the hare?
There wasn't a single person. I tried every single group. They wouldn't let me in.
Who plays a sport here? All right. What would it be like if you played a sport and the rules constantly changed on you? How would that be?
They'd be really hard to keep track of, and there'd be a lot of arguments because people would be arguing over the new rules and everything.
It'd be really difficult.
Rather than being Socratic, telling them what it's about. As much as possible, I try to sit back, act as a facilitator, and certainly draw ideas from the kids, try to deepen the experience.
Now I'm going to sort of go way out here a little bit because we've talked about sports. In terms of your social interactions, like playing with your friends, going on the weekend, what happens on the yard, are there any rules of, let's say, rules of engagement to that? Things you would expect of your friends in that situation?
If they were like your best friends, you wouldn't expect them to say bad things about you.
Not telling me what to do all the time, letting me have my own freedom.
You expect to trust them, so if you can tell them anything and they won't go off and tell someone else about it if you think it's personal or something.
All right, good. And what if you were in a situation like that and you had a group of friends and you felt that the rules that you discussed were changing as well?
I feel really let down because I expect my friends to respect me and be kind to me.
I'd feel sort of disappointed because they're feel like they're trying to take control.
It might be really confusing since you don't know what rules have changed and what rules have stayed the same.
So the person in this poem maybe was in a situation that we've talked about today. I'm not sure. So anyway, here it is, and it's called Getting Ready for Class. If I could have a volunteer read the poem for us.
Store your ideas, keep a lid on your feelings so that no one guesses who you really are, and you're safe from their judging eyes. Be who they want you to be, even if it hurts. Think like them, dress like them, be like them. Put a mask on and join the parade. Class is about to start.
Okay, thank you, Maddie. Well read. Questions? First of all, do you think it's a boy or a girl writing this?
I think it could be both because boys and girls can feel like that sometimes.
All right. I think you're absolutely right. This could be a boy and a girl, a boy or a girl. Alicia?
I think it's a girl because a lot of girls go out and they don't really like who they are because they judge themselves to them for another girl. And so when it says think like them, dress like them, be like them, I think it's a girl acting like the other person.
All right, so Alicia's found some clues in there. I think a lot of people would agree that that does tend to be an issue that girls deal with. The name of the girl suggested was a girl... No, Sunita. And
I think it was a great poem for this age. These students do quite a bit of work in character development. They do a program in our school board called Values, Influences and Peers, because we recognize that grade 6 is, that age group is very important, where they make some major decisions as to the direction they're taking in their life. So this is a program that's run along with the London Police Force. So I thought this was a perfect resource to use with these kids. They were ready for it.
what I'm going to ask you to do is create 2 tableaux, frozen pictures. But before we do that, what I want to do is to just go over, and if you remember the traits of good tableaux.
Facial expression.
All right.
Body language.
Body language.
That's what I meant.
All right.
You have to kind of keep your focus on one specific spot where you're trying to communicate with, I guess.
You want to think about perhaps a center of focus. Here's an important word when it comes to this, and it's the word status. This is what I mean by status. One person in here, and I'm going to give it away by the way the expression we use, has a high status or status, and the other person has a lower status in this tableau. Who has the high status or status?
You.
All right. So Ian, in this particular tableau, has the high status. He has, in a sense, the power in this picture, and then that would mean that Isabel has the lower status or status in this. All right. So what I'm going to ask you to do is I want you to create 2 tableaux that show these elements. The first tableau, what I would like you to do is I want you to show a situation where Sunita is comfortable with her feelings, where she can be herself. The second tableau, I want you to do the opposite. I want you to put her in a situation where she is mirroring the feelings she expresses in this poem here, where she has, in a sense, to put the lid on her feelings, put a mask on and join the parade.
Yeah, it's a person. Okay, so like she could be talking and everyone could be like looking at her like interested or something.
Sort of.
Like she's pretending to fit in with everyone.
For me, Tableau is so great because, number one, there's the discussion that goes around the creation of the tableau. There's also great discussion that can be generated after we viewed the tableau, why the students made the choices that they did.
How do you show in this tableau somebody who's kind of part of the picture, but we have to be able to read the thought bubbles that she's not? Come over here in my group, Megan. Just come over here. We're going to spin our backs on her. That's an easy picture.
Like what we were trying to do is at home. We're at home and we're all skipping rope fine, and then we leave I come back to school with the rope to skip rope with them, but they're not really into it.
All right, so this is what we're going to do. Right now, I'm going to partner you up. So one group is going to show another group their 2 tableaux. What I'd like you to do to look at the checklist and think about, have they done a good job on the groups? They're going to look at things as a clear communication of the message. And keeping in mind the poem again, like the second tableau, have they done a good job of showing that mask, keeping the lids on? Is that clear? Have they got a choice of levels in there?
One form of them giving feedback to each other would be that written checklist. I would, again, collect those at the end so that I have an idea of whether they're engaged in the activity, and opportunities along with that for self-assessment is important again.
Would your group now please go up there and show us your 2 tableaux?
Yeah.
All right. All right. What's happening in this situation? All right, do you want to tell us, guys? Because it's your picture.
Sunita wants to fit in. Like the poem said, she wants to put on the mask like for the parade. So she doesn't, this was her old friend Isabel, but then she's getting made fun of because now she doesn't have any friends because I left her, because I wanted to be popular.
This is an issue we've seen in our VIP program. When bullying happens, it's the people who don't do something about it. And this is a great situation here where Sunita, the character here, wants to fit in. She sees a friend being bullied, but is frozen because she's got the mask on or whatever to do anything about it. Very, very strong. Just go back and do that.
The only thing I didn't really check off was the clear communication of message, because it looked like Sunita was kind of left out of both things, and she didn't really have a friend.
So there's not one where she's actually included. And
Yeah.
It kind of looked like she was trying to.
How do we create and provide a safe environment for students? I want to be inclusive. I want to make sure that every voice is heard. There are moments when somebody might say something that could hurt somebody else's feelings, but I make sure that that those moments aren't glossed over, that we stop at that point and talk as a group. So and so said something which could be taken as hurtful. What could be the repercussions of that? How do we feel as a group?
Thank you very much. And let's have. I've really enjoyed watching the tableau this morning and your discussions around it, and learning about situations which I suppose may be obvious, but I hadn't thought about in terms of Sunita. One of them where the group decided to have the same characters in both tableaux, and I was kind of leading you away from that, but they said no. And the decision they made was one was on a weekend, same group of people, but when they went back to school, things had desperately changed, that now there was an in-group, and even with the same friend, she could be herself. Things changed on a Monday with them. All right, now, some of you have been asking, what is this roll on the wall? What I want you to do in the center part, in either the head or the body of Sunita, is to write down the feelings that she has. What on the outside, what I want you to do is to write things about how other people might see her, or the pressures other people might put on her. So this is okay, let's have somebody else come up here.
There's
Alex.
a great language lesson in there as well, out of their choice of words. Good use of synonyms. The subtlety, what is the difference between shy and insecure?
But some of these, I think, perhaps the ones that are inside are easier to key on. The sense of powerlessness that we're getting from the poem here is very strong. And I think the sense of a shame that she would like to be stronger. So we've got some ideas here, particularly thinking about how other people see her. Some very strong feelings here: confused, rejected, depressed. And I want to talk to some people who know Sunita. And this is leading up to something that we call hot seating.
Deepening the experience, so we see different points of view, which is important. And again, the questions that I ask them to create, what makes a good question, that you can get deeper into learning about the character. What is a shallow question?
Okay, I need a teacher. All right, Rain, you are the teacher. I want you to make up some questions that you would like to ask the leader of the group.
Have you noticed a change in Sunita?
Well, when she comes home now, she'll be depressed, but then her siblings will cheer her up. And her grades have dropped a little.
Part of my thinking was that I wanted to get that into my lesson, to give them an opportunity to do some role-playing, plus the fact that they love it.
Does Sunita's personality fit in with the group?
Sometimes she kind of bugs me because she goes and plays with these two unpopular kids, and it's like, whoa!
Does Sunita treat you any differently than before?
She kind of has some new friends and she hangs out with them more.
I'm going to ask you to make a little scene. Was there something that made her put this mask on? With some moment in her life when she felt all of a sudden ashamed, or she felt rejected, and she made that decision. What I want you to do is to create a 1-minute scene, a role-playing scene. You're all going to be characters in that scene. So
That Sunita could be with her non-popular friend and be kind of watching the popular kids, and they could be laughing.
Hey, she doesn't actually like you, right?
She's really nice.
Are you sure about that? She gossips about you.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I'm usually shy, so I think she's a lot like me. But I'm working little by little up. I try to talk more to people.
I think they're writing something about us. Yeah.
What do they want to do with us?
They're one of those popular people. Hi. From this lesson, I learned how to understand about the character in the poem by using her words and her experiences, so I can empathize a lot more with her.
So, Sunita, want to come to the mall sometime? I'd like to, but Meg and I already have plans. Sorry.
Really?
I want you to see if you can imagine, where is Sunita 10 years in the future?
I think she's probably skipping out on a bunch of classes to like hang with friends.
Maybe she can be on a one-on-one conversation with the teacher about her actions.
Now, if we were to do this and say in a group of a tableau of 4 people, who would we want to see in this scene?
Professor, maybe. Sunita herself.
Sunita. So, okay, so let's have Sunita up here. Where is she in this picture?
Well, yeah, she may be cheating also, you know, if you had the teacher.
Wow, okay, so why don't you grab a chair then? Because this is...
I'm a big advocate of drama as part of the curriculum. It's an active form, and it gives kids a real opportunity to move, to express themselves. So I've always made that a focus of my teaching. I find it very enriching for both the class and myself and the curriculum that we deal with. I think it's really a unifying force for kids and the teacher who's lucky enough to be teaching them.